It's a beautiful Friday morning. Welcome to Business Today on Osrc Television. I am Omoshiliola Adesoye Ajayi. Nigeria is witnessing significant advancements in solar power irrigation driven by initiatives from the government, NGOs, and private sector's collaborations. The Nigerian federal government has recently intensified its commitment to promoting solar power irrigation as a cornerstone of sustainable agriculture, food security, and climate resilience. And today we'll be talking about this technology that is gradually changing the face of agricultural economics in our dear country. Welcome once again. My guest will be here shortly. Please don't go away. Glad to have you back. Like I said we'll be talking about economic benefits of solar irrigation in Nigeria, helping our viewers out there to understand what exactly is solar irrigation and how does it work.
Okay. Good morning, viewers at home. Solar irrigation has to do with fuel and other means of powering this equipment.
Okay, so let's talk about its.
One of the major benefits of this sources of power is it will help you reduce your overhead costs in terms of powering your diesel generators, your fuel, and as well as the availability of this energy source is such that you don't have to rely again on the grid, which we all know in this part of the world is erratic and not guaranteed. So it helps them to make more money in terms of reduced cost over time.
Okay,
when you talk about things like tomatoes, that's only if you have a reliable source of water supply. So using water supply from solar irrigation will help you have a reliable and a well-defined framework and timeline for you to generate your crops, as well as be able to meet the demand out there in the market.
Okay.
It's a one-off investment with very reduced maintenance costs. The maintenance you may need to do may just be you cleaning the panels during Harmattan season, and that's just it, because the sun rises and sets every day and throughout the year. So the cost is one of the major factors why we are yet to see a wider adoption of this power source. Yep.
The cost.
The cost implications. Yes.
Okay. Do you think government can what policy do you think can be put in place, or what do you think government can do, or stakeholders can do to help in this regard?
Okay. Here, the role the government can play, the commercial initial capital outlay.
Okay, to a layman now, if I want to, is there any particular crops or farming plantation that can work with irrigation, solar irrigation?
Yeah. Almost all plantation that has to do with agriculture requires solar irrigation.
Okay.
In the sense that because what this solar irrigation does for the farmers is to provide the key element that they require for farming, which is water. Water is not an option. So in every area of that sector, of that growing of plants, even preservation, because there are some crops that you will require water to process and preserve. So you require, if you have enough of this solar water power supply from the solar irrigation, it will help them in that regard.
Okay, federal government is planning to invest more in solar to have on Nigeria?
Okay, if this is done, if you have to look at it from the macroeconomic perspective, now if this sector of the economy is revamped by the provision of solar irrigation, their business increases, it gets better, they have more production. It has a wider spread to the general economy in terms of increased economic activity. It creates employment. We know that the agricultural sector provides up to 30% of the GDP of this nation. So if you have a sector that is providing about 30% of the GDP, being well funded and in full-fledged operation, it will definitely have a wider impact in the economy in terms of job creation, food security, because everybody wakes up want to have something to eat. Even if you don't have money in your account, you have food on your table, you generally feel happy. You see the general well-being of the populace will be better than if there was no food. And once the populace is happy, when the populace is well fed, the government itself can then focus their attention on improving on other sectors without having to be distracted by criticism, anti-government activities. So the government has a lot to benefit from such, which has to do with general security in the society.
Okay, so it's a win-win situation.
It's a win-win situation for all stakeholders in the field, from government, the farmers, the individuals. It's a win-win for everybody that is involved.
Okay, can someone who is not into a larger, farm, who is not into a larger farm sector, can someone like me who has a smaller farm
Okay, like a
farm in my backyard, can I eventually go into solar irrigation?
Yes, of course.
So
yes, of course you can.
Let's go a bit
okay.
Technical.
Technical, yeah. Okay.
So how do I do that?
Okay, this is how you must have, for you to have a working solar system for your irrigational purposes, you must have a source of water. It could be a running a river, like a running water body. It could be a well, and those are the two major sources, river and a well. The way it works is that you have a pump. Usually the pump you use for solar irrigation is a DC pump. However, there's an alternative of using the AC pump, but that gets a little bit more technical, that you involve batteries. But for solar irrigation, you don't require batteries. Okay. You just have your water body, your solar pump, and then your farm. Okay. Then you may need a plumber to help you run pipes if the water body is a bit far away from your farm. If, however, everything is within your compound, like you have asked for a private individual, you have a garden farm or a backyard farm, let me use that word. You have your well, you run pipe into the well, the pump will require solar panels. The solar panels generate power from the sun and converts it to electricity for the pump to run with. So the way it works is that the moment the sun rises in the morning, the pump is ready to start working. So you turn it on, it works throughout the day. The only limiting factor for that day is the amount of water you have in your well. If you have limited water supply, that's when you say, okay, you're out of water for that day until the next day. That's the way it works.
Okay. So what would now be your words for those who are trying to venture into it? Because you talked about cost implication, like how much can it cost a farmer to go into solar irrigation?
For a farmer that has, say, a small scale farmer, you will require about close to 1.4 million to get a 1 horsepower system fully functional. That amount covers every equipment that you require. The pump, the solar panels, the plumbing works. That will set the system start to finish for you for a 1 horsepower pump. If you now have a bigger farm where you require, say, a 3 horsepower, then you will be talking about 2.5 to 3 million naira. Yes.
2.5 to 3 million. That's huge.
It's huge. That's why I say it's an initial cost, like the ones we have had to deploy over a period of in the past a year to now. we have had any reason to go back to any maintenance.
Okay, with the kind of weather we have in this part of the world, do you think this is sustainable?
Yes, it is. 100% sustainable.
100%.
100% sustainable. The sun never ceases to rise.
There are some period where we have cloudy weather all through.
Yeah, that's where I require input from a professional.
Okay.
Because a well-trained photovoltaic systems designer would have factored in all of these variables you just mentioned.
Okay.
To a layman, he may not know. The layman is only interested in how much is it. But if you meet a professional would have gone back, done simulation, done calculations to ensure that your system is ready to deliver even on the worst days of the year. So if for days that you have terrible weather conditions, the only thing the user will observe is reduced production, not non-production.
Okay.
It will generate. It will always generate. Say, for instance, you have a system that generates about 1,000 liters for you per day. You may not have, okay, it's a bad weather day, very terrible bad weather day that will have all these 7 days rain period. You may not have it generating 200 liters. That day will not kill your business. And that terrible day may not last more than a day or two. In the whole of the entire year, days like that are not more than 5, which is not enough out of 365 to kill a business. So it will always generate.
Okay, with the way we adopt the use of solar now, even
it's not this widespread as it is now. Why? Not just because of the cost factor, but because there was this lack of adequate information out there. So many people who got involved in having solar systems, they ended up with non-effective systems. Like I've just mentioned, you need a professional to help you handle all of these things. If you do it by I know how to do it, or do it yourself, fine, you may get it right, you may think that's all, but when it comes to moments where the system will be subjected to critical tests, it may fail.
it goes beyond that.
It goes beyond that. So if you meet a professional, so we have the way the trend it is going now, there's so much qualified professionals out there who can do good jobs, who will deliver jobs that will stand the test of time. So with that already now coming to the mainstream, I see the adoption growing rapidly in a geometric progression, such that you have, say, 90% satisfaction from users, that everybody will tend to want to go for it, especially with our grid not improving. Although we are still praying that it improves.
Okay. Yep. Don't you see the adoption, the way we adopt solar energy in this part of the world as a way to make government relax or redundant in its efforts to provide power and energy for people?
No, I want to disagree on that, because the grid power is still very important, especially in the large-scale industries, that operate huge machines. Not that the solar system cannot handle this, but at some point you have to do your cost-benefit analysis, especially for a limited time frame. There's the amount of investment you invest in a project, you want to make your returns in a specific period of time. Where you start running huge machineries, you will still need a grid. So I would say the government should still keep at improving our grid and not neglect our grid sources, so that they will work more like complement each other. For residential, where you have challenges of transmission lines to rural areas, you can encourage solar adoption in those areas. But for the cosmopolitan areas where you have the industries, you need the grid. You will need the grid, because to generate power is beyond just solar panels and batteries. The solar panels themselves, depending on the amount of energy you want to generate per day, it requires some level of surface area